Yeah, you can.
We are streaming. Yes.
So we're streaming? Okay. All right. We're ready to go.
Okay. At this time, I would like to reconvene the regular board meeting. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Paul?
Yes.
Solis?
Present.
Pike?
Yeah, just got poop in my yard.
Pike? You're muted, Mr. Pike.
Okay, now, here, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Segura?
Here.
Tarantino?
Here.
Janney?
Here.
Collier?
Okay, will you please stand, join me in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance led by our Student Board Representative, Ethan Collier.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance,
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, and I want to thank you for your patience as we got some technical difficulties straightened out. The board met in closed session preceding this meeting to discuss the following issues: student expulsions, suspended expulsions, reinstatements, Education Code Section 48916 to 48918. Students were identified by ID number. Public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reclassification, reassignment, resignation, transfer, Government Code Section 54957. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. Conference with labor negotiator, Government Code Section 54957.6. Public employee performance evaluation, Government Code Section 54957. The board took the following action. Moved by Hall, seconded by Pike, to accept the administrative hearing panel's recommendation to approve the expulsion of one student with a vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Pike, seconded by Hall, to accept the administrative hearing panel's recommendation to approve the suspended expulsion of one student with the vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura no, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Pike, seconded by Hall, to accept the administrative hearing panel's recommendation to approve the suspended expulsion of one student with the vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura no, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Solis and seconded by Pike to approve the request for leave of absence for one certificated employee with the vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Pike and seconded by Segura to deny claim number 20-05439 with a vote of Hall yes, Pike yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. The board will be reconvening the closed session after the open session meeting. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the April 27th, 2020 regular school board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Hall, seconded by Segura. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we will now have the provide an opportunity for SDCOE representative Dr. Mark Scavarna to make any comments, should he have any. Dr. Scavarna.
No comments at this time.
Okay, all right. We will now have an update from our superintendent, Dr. Janney.
Thank you, Mr. Tarantino. Welcome to our first ever Microsoft Teams board meeting. And we're really glad that you've joined us. And we made it. We're on live. We are often defined by how we respond to periods of hardship and uncertainty. The COVID-19 pandemic has threatened so much of what we hold dear and has disrupted the lives of people all over the world. And yet, stories of great compassion, strength, and unity continue to emerge. One of those great stories is right here in our own very district. Everyone knows we had a shortage of devices this year due to the high number of damaged devices returned last June and the lack of funds to close the gap. When we sent out the survey to our students seeking information about device and internet needs a few weeks ago, several hundred students who had their own devices, their own personal devices, offered to return their district-provided device to redistribute to students who were without one. This past week, close to 600 students took the time to return district devices so that we can make repairs and get them ready to redistribute to other students who need them. Truly, this is an example of unity and caring for one another in our own very district. Tonight, I also want to thank all of our teachers, our counselors, and our administrators who are reaching out to students and families to reconnect and show how much they care every single day. We also want our staff to know that we understand that in addition to your educator role, you may also be responsible to fulfill the role of a parent or a grandparent to preschool and school-aged children, or to care for an elderly parent or family member, or to do a myriad of other life's responsibilities. And we want you to know that educating our students with distance learning is new for the majority of us, and we acknowledge it's not easy. So please give yourself a break and just keep doing the best you can, and we're all going to get through this. Parents, we also know that supporting your student at home with their physical, their emotional, and their educational needs is also no easy task. And please know that we're here to support you through this time. I would like to share kudos to the following students and staff. 16, this happened a while ago, but we've haven't been on for a while, so I want to make sure that I recognize the 16 Bonita Vista High School speech and debate students and the 4 Otay Ranch students who qualified for the state qualifying tournament. Unfortunately, with school closures, the tournament was canceled. We're sorry that they missed that opportunity, but we nevertheless want to celebrate them now. So from Bonita, they are Samantha Bianes, Tyler Carter, Lourdes Castrita, Derek Zapak, Lorene Eugenio, Haley Renee Fagan, Marcelo Garbo, Madison Gearing, Gerardo Gonzalez Martinez, Cameron Lofney, Nadia Martinez, I think it's Marco Moreno, Ursula Nooner, Abby Roman, Faith Talamontes, Vincent Urbina. With their advisor, congratulations, Mr. Eric Helly. I think it's Helly, yeah. And then Otay Ranch's advisor is Bernadette Siskin, and the students there are Ansley Lloyd, Priscilla Osuna, and Jordan Premer. So congratulations to those students. Back in February, Sioux High librarian Barbara Chappelle Brown was recognized with a Black History Month award by National City Mayor Alejandra Sotelo Solis for her work with electronic resources at Sioux High. Both the Chula Vista High ASB and Bonita Vista High ASBs were both selected as a 2020 National Gold Council of Excellence Award for the highest standards of quality the ASB demonstrates in its operation, its projects, and its activities. Also, Rancho Del Rey Middle School's librarian Alex Picasso is a recipient of the North Island Credit Union Spring Teacher Grant, and he applied for that grant, and that grant supports an after-school coding class that he teaches. Congratulations to Security Coordinator and Advisor John Chakowski, who was appointed as Education Sector Chief for the FBI's San Diego InfraGuard chapter. His involvement in that organization will enable Sweetwater to enhance our own school safety processes. And then last week on KOGO, iHeartRadio, Eastlake High senior Brenna Pangilinan and Hilltop High senior Artie Ariola were interviewed about their experiences as a high school senior in COVID-19. They both provided excellent perspectives about finding the balance of losing out of some of their senior activities while preparing to move on to college and other activities. They were both came across as being very resilient and articulate, so we want to thank them. The following senior spring season athletes have been recognized by local media outlets. So I want to shout out to Abigail Rivera from Mar Vista High softball, Jordan Waller from Eastlake High baseball, Sierra Tufts, Alice Casillas, and Emily Esquivel from Eastlake High softball, Brittany Rodriguez, Destiny Chavez, Cindy Lopez, and Angie Ortega from Castle Park High lacrosse. And I want to end my message with some examples of what I first mentioned about great stories that emerged during unique and uncertain times. These stories were shared with me by Hilltop High School teacher Louise Williamson, who wanted to share what some of our alum are doing out in the world, making a difference in the medical arena right now. And we know that we all want to salute and thank our medical personnel. And so here are two stories. One is from Marianne Ford. She's Hilltop High class of 2008. She's currently the head nurse at a group of outpatient clinics near Weaver, Alabama. Mary said this to Louise Williams. I am part of the leadership team and the director of billing for the local urgent care in our area. I oversee the front desk, billing, coding, and documentation process for all three of our locations. I live in a rural part of Alabama with roughly less than 60,000 people. We have two local major hospitals. We're the only urgent care in the area testing for COVID-19. Cases are rising daily, and our local hospitals just got their first COVID cases earlier this week, although we started testing about a month ago. Our daily process changes daily to meet demand and ensure the safety of our patients and staff. We've been limited on PPE and cleaning supplies. Our leadership staff has been working diligently every day to try to acquire these items, but it is sparse in our area. Donations are mainly going to the hospitals at this time, although we are encountering and testing these patients when they are in the most contagious stages. We want to thank Marianne Ford for her contribution. And then secondly, there's Faraz, I think it's Faraz Ali, Hilltop High School class of 2003, is a doctor at St. Elizabeth's Medical Center in New York City. And Dr. Ali said this, I have 3 of my wife's family members in the hospital where I work at. Every day I'm working to save their lives. One is now intubated. The other I help stay off the ventilator. One is leaving Monday. 1 day at a time, 1 liter of oxygen at a time, 1 breath at a time, we will rise up. And that is a great, great story and message from 2 of our alums. And so I just want to tell everybody to please stay safe, and we thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you, Mr. Tarantino.
Thank you, Dr. Janney. We will now have a report from our student board representative, Ethan Collier. Ethan?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Really quickly, on the note of resilience, students, we just finished our first week of distance learning, and I just want to let everyone know as a reminder that we need to be patient with our teachers, with our counselors, and with our administration as they're adapting to this new reality that we face. This is a very unfortunate reality for the class of 2020, and as well all of our classes for not being able to be physically in the classroom. So we just really need to make sure that we can provide some sort of comfort with ourselves and remain as a united community in order to help each other grow as who we are as students, and as well as just making sure that we help our teachers with fully participating in distance learning. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ethan. Can you, you may have to increase your volume. I just got a text message that people who are watching live stream could not really hear what you were saying. So check your volume, okay? Just as a FYI. Okay? Did you get that?
He turned his
I got
volume off, I think.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you for those comments. And I hope you're staying safe and well. Okay, we'll now move to public hearing under D1, and we will conduct a public hearing for the public to respond to the Sweetwater Union High School District's initial proposal to the Sweetwater Education Association, CTA, NEA, SEA, the exclusive representative of the teacher bargaining unit, and approve the initial proposal from the district to the SEA. I will now open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
If there are no speakers, I will now close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the initial proposal from the district to the SEA?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Solis.
Moved by Pike, seconded by Solis. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item D2, conduct a public hearing for the public to respond to the Sweetwater Union High School District's initial proposal to the Sweetwater Counseling and Guidance Association, CTA, NEA, SCGA, the exclusive representative of the Counselor Bargaining Unit, and approve the initial proposal from the district to SCGA. I will now open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
If there are no speakers, I will now close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the initial proposal from the district to SCGA?
So moved. Solis. Second.
Moved by Mr. Solis, seconded by Mr. Segura. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Segura.
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Item number D3, public communication on non-agenda items. This is the point on the agenda where members of the public may address the board on any matter not on the agenda and have 3 minutes or 500 words to do so. The Board of Trustees cannot legally take any action on or rescind or respond to matters not posted on the public agenda, but will refer the matters to the superintendent's office for review and report. Madam Clerk, are there any comments to be read?
Yes, I have received comments from 6 members of the public. I will start with comments from Kathleen Cheers. She says, "Good evening. I would like to begin by thanking our teachers, counselors, and IT department for their efforts the past few months in transitioning to online learning. Undoubtedly, the already stretched IT department is deserving of special recognition for their efforts in assisting all parties during these difficult times. While my voice has been MIA, please trust Mrs. Cheers continues to do her homework. Agenda item C1 presented at the April 13th meeting caught my eye, but frankly, it was a mere cursory review. Several calls from parents regarding the new student Lenovo distribution taking 6 weeks troubled me since this school will end in 7 weeks, so I revisited the item and have a few questions, concerns, and comments. It was my understanding one of the reasons seniors did not receive devices this year was due to cost. The district stated there was a substantial number of technical devices in need of repair. So my questions are, where are those devices currently? If they are in storage, what is the plan? If they have been sold, for how much and what fund were the proceeds deposited into? Again, if they were sold, has there been a line item or agenda item referencing the monies? Would it not have been more cost-effective to repair those versus purchasing new ones? Whose idea was it to include a very expensive custom logo on these devices at a cost of $6,000? Did the person ordering this customization fail to remember we are in a deficit? If you want the name SUHSD on them, A label maker would have sufficed. In my opinion, the personalization was a frivolous expenditure regardless of our financial situation. Why did we not go directly to the manufacturer? The price stated is exorbitant for the quality of the device. I then made a call to Ms. Adato, my IT guru, requesting she review the item. She too will be addressing you all on the expenditure. Hopefully President Tarantino might ask for clarification and answers to my questions this evening. I thank you for your time. The next comments are from Maddie Adato. There are a couple of things that concern me here regarding your recent computer purchases. Obviously, the winner is on the bid and the district did not actually read the quote. Overall, these computers are crap for students. Item number 1, Lenovo 300E, which I assume is for teachers. That model costs less online, however, not by that much. Regardless, anything at that quantity should always cost less than what you can purchase them online at a scale prices are cheaper. This model already comes with a 4-year, 24-hour repair replace as stated in the description of the item. They are charging an additional warranty on top of that warranty and double dipping. The case I would assume a good price as they retail for $49.95 on their website. Integration services are probably fine. Absolute Resilience is an MDM. Essentially, this allows them to track and control the computer processes so they are not used incorrectly, i.e. they can only download approved apps. This is pricey at scale. Item number 7, Lenovo 300E, which I would assume is for students. The model is less than $300 as spec'd out. There is no way that you would get it at that price. At 2,700 units, that is absurd. Again, double dipping on the damage protection warranty. Notice how the price is higher for the lower tier computer. They are netting an extra $21,600 by raising the fee. Protection warranty should always be cheaper for cheaper products. Cases are okay, however, the price should still be lower by ordering 3,200. E-waste is mandatory. All in all, if I knew you were bidding, I could have helped procure these at scale. Not sure how you don't have someone internal that deals with all this and can just reach out to the manufacturers directly. This makes the most sense if the district wants to ensure they are not getting screwed. On the other issue for Cisco system, why are they not breaking this down on a per item cost? That is ridiculous. Even if they sell it as a package, it doesn't matter. They should be breaking it down by unit. I know for a fact Cisco doesn't really publish their pricing. However, I know licenses can get expensive. But remember, we're talking of buying stuff at scale. Adding a majority of these to a cart on whatever site is costing me $31,160.06. They are factoring other costs in here somehow. That is why they don't want to show you a per price breakdown of each product. And even if they did, it would be inflated. And she included a chart of her part.
Thank you, Mrs. Adato. Next.
Next comments are from Julie Walker. Board President Tarantino, members of the board, and Dr. Janney. As president of the Sweetwater Education Association, I first want to thank the district for its willingness to work with several of our member groups in these very difficult times. SEA leadership has been consulted and been able to give input on various aspects of the COVID-19 distance learning plan. Whenever questions or concerns have come up, we have had timely responses. While I appreciate this collaboration, I am still concerned with the inconsistency in communication. Many teachers and other certificated staff feel that they are at a loss with what to say to students when they are contacting them about a lack of ability to access learning opportunities. Please encourage your leadership to be specific as to when problems will be resolved and why we need to wait. One example is the distribution of materials. Why couldn't it have been communicated to staff that they needed an extra week to get devices and paper copies out to sites due to an advisory by the San Diego Health Department to limit any unnecessary exposure during what we hope is the peak of the county's COVID-19 response? Crisis. I want to thank those site administrators who have shared with their staffs very comprehensive plans to provide non-digital resources as we wait for devices and connectivity opportunities. Teachers at those sites are feeling more certain about the learning opportunities for their students. Unfortunately, this is not the case at all sites. We still have sites where students in need and their teachers have not had any indication when they will be able to participate in distance learning. Teachers, students, and their parents' guardians are frustrated with the lack of certainty and planning. This crisis has also highlighted the need for some very important members of our associations whose positions you have deemed unnecessary. When it came to developing the distance learning plan and resources, who did you turn to? Our teachers on special assignment who are on the reduction in force list. When it came to distributing devices and issues related to our digital resources, what did you do? You turned to our librarians, who are RIFT. When it came to meeting the needs of our most vulnerable students, you turned to the Learning Center teachers, who are RIFT. Our members stepped up and provided learning opportunities for all of their students. We need to provide them with as much certainty in this time of uncertainty. Let's get the information out there and continue to work together as we move through this crisis and make our plans for next year. Thank you, Julie Walker, President, SEA.
Thank you.
The next comments are from Maria Teresa Harris. I would like to begin by thanking Dr. Alvarez, Dr. Winters, and Ms. Lizarraga for providing awesome professional development that allowed my talented colleagues to share their abilities and knowledge with us as part of the 2 weeks of preparing for a more blended classroom. Additionally, gracias to all the wonderful young dedicated teachers, most of who have been RIFT, who are taking their precious moments to help those of us more mature teachers access the technology. Lest I forget, thank you to our more mature, tech-savvy colleagues leading the way in these unpaved times. I would like to address a grave concern I have regarding the accessibility to resources for all our teachers and students. This superintendent created the Equity and Culture Department, in part to ensure culturally responsible and equitable learning, but we are not seeing any visible or viable results. In particular, two groups are consistently left out: our special education students and our economically disadvantaged students, in essence, our most vulnerable pupils. They are currently not able to access anywhere near the quality education that they have an intrinsic right to receive. The most pressing reasons behind this failure to address the misuse of resources are a lack of dialogue, open conversations, and timely notifications. The pedagogical framework has changed from one based in positivity and enlightened equity building to one that increases the alienation and isolation of our students and families in need during this pandemic. As a teacher on the, quote, east side, I had an 89.6% contact rate with my students last week. It was wonderful reaching my students through email and witnessing their constructive work. It was even more rewarding to know that they are safe and sound and able to access the work. Nevertheless, my heart and soul are heavy and burdened that I am part of escalating the digital divide by providing asynchronous learning. In these most trying times, it is imperative that we are all able to access resources, teachers, and students alike in the most equitable manner possible. We can and should do better.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
The next comments are from Michelle Ugarte. Good evening, board members and Dr. Janney. I am a product of this district, a teacher for 18 years, all in SUHSD, and have had one child graduate from, another who will graduate this June, a freshman at BBH, and another who will attend both middle and high school. I have a few comments I would like to address to the board and superintendent. Regards to TOSAs and librarians returning to the classrooms. Due to the COVID-19 requiring schools to close and moving to distance learning, I really hope the board and superintendent realize the vital role the TOSAs and librarians play in preparing and assisting the district with district learning. They worked endless hours and assisted tremendously in preparing teachers to be ready for providing quality learning for students. I really hope you reconsider your decision to returning them to the classroom because they are too valuable to schools to do so. Distance learning equity. It has recently come to my attention that students at Sweetwater High and San Ysidro High are not receiving an education from distance learning due to lack of devices and internet connectivity. I know the district approved the purchasing of 2,400 devices, but not receiving them until almost the end of the school year is too late. Also, creating paper packets of work for students is not going well either. I hope the situation gets remedied quickly. Collecting of iPads and laptops. At the beginning of this school year, the senior class were not provided with a laptop due to not having enough devices. What is your plan on making sure this doesn't happen again for next year? Have you created a plan to be able to gather all of these devices at the end of the year or what? The district cannot be purchasing more devices with funds they do not have. Bargaining. SEA at this meeting is sunshining for the next 2021 contract, even though 1920 has not been completed yet. I really hope the district does a better job in bargaining by being prepared and willing to negotiate. Time is running out for this school year and next year is rapidly approaching. I know a calendar needs to be negotiated. It would be nice to have 19-20 contract complete and then to focus on 2021 school year. Thank you for your time. On a positive note, I really did find the PD or distance learning valuable, so thank you.
Thank you.
And the next comments are from Crystal Scott.
I forgot to turn it off on here.
We are 6 weeks into campus closures and students don't have what they need to participate in remote learning. No internet access, no devices, and no paper copies of anything being provided to their peers. How is this possible? How is this allowed? How is this legal? At the beginning of the year, Sweetwater discontinued the one-to-one device program for seniors, despite teachers explaining that doing so would be a travesty. When campuses closed, teachers were directed not to prepare anything for our students, not even for the seniors we knew would need paper materials if campuses didn't reopen. When it became clear that campuses would not reopen, we were told not to prepare anything because district personnel were working on it. Then we had the 2 weeks after spring break. We were told only to worry about learning technology for remote teaching. Nothing was mentioned about creating paper materials. 5 weeks ago, teachers asked if Sweetwater was going to put in an order like LA Unified School District did, and the response was, we're looking into it and we need to see the results of the survey being sent out. Why would you waste time when you knew seniors needed devices? The survey wasn't sent out for 10 more days. Then we had to wait 5 days for responses and wait for a board meeting for approval. This timeline is beyond irresponsible. For 2 weeks now, LA has been distributing devices and hotspots, but we're in a holding pattern because everything is on back order, and will take weeks for our students to receive necessary technology. 5 weeks after campuses closed, teachers at my site were given 7 days to create learning packets containing 3 to 4 weeks of assignments for students without internet connection or devices. No plan was shared for how those would be distributed to students or how teachers would receive them to assess student learning. Students are contacting teachers in tears because they can't learn. Some are being told they will fail their classes and if they don't do the work. What happened to no harm grading? What about those who were failing before campus closures? If they don't have devices and internet connectivity, they can't make that up and bring themselves to passing. This isn't their fault and they shouldn't be held responsible for not being able to connect to learning materials or remediate previous mistakes. Only this morning did school personnel receive information about the timeline for students to receive devices and hotspots. That email claimed information was sent out last Saturday. I know of nobody who received it. Until today, there was no news, no plan. During this time of silence from Sweetwater, Chula Vista stepped in to provide internet access to its residents, still leaving the rest of students served by Sweetwater without access to learning. This is criminal neglect. You've had 6 weeks to resolve these issues and we're still waiting. From teachers, students, and parents' perspectives, you have done nothing to help. You are continuing to fail our students. This is unconscionable. Fix this now.
Thank you.
There are no further comments under public communication.
Okay. Thank you for everyone who came forward and took the time to write their comments so that they could be heard by the board via this platform. Okay. Madam Clerk, the next item is the formation and approval of the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, will you please read the items being pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, the following items are pulled. F3 by Mrs. Hall and staff, F7 by Mrs. Hall, F10 by the public, F11 by Mr. Segura, F13 by Mrs. Hall and Mr. Segura, G2 by staff, M2 by Mr. Segura, N1 by Mr. Tarantino, N4 by Mr. Segura, O2 by Mrs. Hall, O4 by Mr. Segura, Q3 by Mrs. Hall and Mr. Segura, Q4 by Mrs. Hall, Q5 by Mr. Segura and Mr. Tarantino, and Q7 by Mr. Segura.
Excuse me, Mr. Board President.
Yes, Ms.
I
Hall.
think I may have made a type or I omitted, but I wanted to pull the the Q3. I probably typed it wrong, but I would like to make
yes,
that.
I believe I stated that. Yes, I have you for Q3.
Oh, okay, I thought you said Q2. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
Q3 is Mrs. Hall and Mr. Segura.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, could you read over the O's? I have O2 pulled by Mrs. Hall.
Yes.
O3 pulled by Mrs. Hall. O4.
No, not 03.
Not O3, okay.
04 pulled by Mr. Segura
Okay,
and 02 pulled by Mrs. Hall.
okay, thank you. Do you have me pulled 05?
No, I have N1 for you.
Okay, yeah, I'm
Q5.
sorry. I got my O's and Q's mixed up, so I didn't pull 05, I pulled Q5.
Yes.
Thank- Okay. Does everyone need me to read them again, or are we all okay? If we're all okay, then I will accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Early. Moved by Mr. Pike, seconded by Mr. Solis. And Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is F3, Board Report on Request for Information and Policy Direction to Staff and Board Communication. Mrs. Hall, you pulled it. We're all going to have a chance to speak to it, but you pulled it, so you go first.
Oh, well, thank you, President Tarantino. I pulled it because I wanted to, first of all, thank our staff, our leadership, our administrators, Dr. Janney, and her team for the great shift they've been doing in providing digital learning to our students. I know it's a work in progress. There's still much to be done, but I want to recognize the effort. It's been tremendous. I also wanted to thank the adult education teachers in our district, the staff that work in that program office, not only for the work they're doing, because I understand they have been working and the families and students have been converting to digital learning, and they've had some good success with that shift. I also want to thank them for their advocacy for their programs, not only to our district, but to legislators across the state. I think they've partnered with other program leaders across the state to advocate for their funding for their program. And I wanted to point out that they have had a call for some protection over the funding for their program, and that is from the California, I don't know what the abbreviation is, but the CCAE is a statewide adult ed organization that represents all the educators and staff in that program, and they have a website where they're gathering having a form where you can click on their form, and it will help you fill out the information there so you can send it off to legislators in an advocacy effort for that program. And that is at it's at www.ccaestate.org. And I want to thank the educators that have been coalescing around that effort, because they sorely need the funding, and as we all will do, I'm sure that it's much appreciated by the people who are enrolled in that program. I also wanted to share that I was a judge participated as a judge in a program called Directing Change, and it's an advocacy. It's a program across the state that helps with mental health and suicide prevention for youth. It's Directing Change, and it's students across the state, from middle school through high school, submit short films that help educate and open the eyes of different students, children, adults on mental health and where they can seek help. And so this is a annual contest, so to speak. They have certain parameters that they have to meet in order to qualify. And there's several different levels of judging. So I was judging in the South California area. I actually judged 15 of these short films. It was really a great experience, and we've had some really creative ways that they communicate, how you recognize signs, how you can seek for help, how you can help your peers who need help. You can recognize them, or for yourself, how you can seek out the help of an adult or engage in different activities that will help you maintain or recover from mental health issues. So that was a great experience. And I want to say that there were a number of schools or students from schools in the South Bay and across our county that had made it to this final part of the judging, as well as several from the LA and Long Beach area. It was a great experience. I would also like to request that I'm going to also request a few things. I'm bringing I'm following up on my previous request. The one I requested, I think, a couple of meetings ago, at least 2 meetings ago, and maybe since, and I've followed it up with email about 3 scenarios that I requested regarding the possibility of having learning centers continue and not be shuttered in the following fiscal year. And I asked for 3 different types of scenarios. One, if they were operating at 3-site locations, if they were at 5 locations, and if they were at 7 locations. Because we already have the data on where, if they continued the same way. But I really feel that we need to have that information to make informed decisions as we go forward with our 2020-21 budget decisions. I don't think I've had enough input from various community members and parents who are extremely concerned about their students losing their ground and not being able to have their needs met in that educational environment where they've been thriving. It also I've learned more about the difference between the learning center versus independent study. And there is a significant difference in how that method is delivered. And I think that it bears a deeper conversation at the board level. But we need that data and that analysis in order to make informed decisions. I also have been requesting a number of things from the district on finance, basically through the superintendent, in the hopes that I would have that information to advocate at the state and local legislative level for on behalf of our district, and in coalition with other board members across our county who are finding themselves in similar situation as our district. We know that we will be facing fiscal distress. We already are there. But every district across the state will have significant challenges in the fall. No matter what we present in a balanced budget at this point in time, it is the imminent issue at hand is by the fall, we will be having to revise our budget once again, no matter if we pass a balanced budget in June. That is imminent because once the state revenues come into this, and the state has a real picture of what they have in revenue, and because of the situation we are in and the cost of sheltering in and dealing with the threat of the spread of COVID, we really need to know what's going on. We have to have good advocacy, and to do that, we have to have facts. Facts on the cost, the imminent cost, the real projections, and I've sent that information to Dr. Janney. I have followed up with it on a couple of occasions, and I haven't really gotten the information, although I promised it to provide it out. I haven't been able to get that. I need it, and I will follow up with that request once again. Some of that is, it is the cost, not only of what we are buying in devices, but the real cost of distance learning overall, what it is to provide that technology across our district, not just what we're buying in a $1.5 million purchase order, but beyond that. What is true cost of delivering technology to our community of students, teachers, and staff? And how will we handle that in the future? I also wanted I had asked for information about the surveys that were conducted. I wanted to have copies of those surveys along with the number of responses and the audience, the number of people those surveys were provided to. So we have a real understanding not only of the survey question, but who was the targeted audience, how many actually received, how many actually responded, because that informs how I value and understand the information of that survey. I think it behooves our board to have that. I wanted to know the different types of provided audience. I also wanted to, and I think we did get some information in our last meeting about how many parents had opted out of devices over all along. They've never wanted them, but also how many did not have the connectivity. So I wanted to get an update on how that's working. And I wanted to also understand if there has been any conversation on extending, it's a little late now for that conversation, but extending the school year so that we catch up some of those students that have been lagging behind and ensure that they stay on track, but also a talk about perhaps expanding summer school and what that cost would look like. So, and my last question would be, or not my last question, I also wanted to point out that May is also Mental Health Month. I believe it's May, not April, but I could be wrong. But if we could have a resolution supporting that or recognizing that would be nice. And I had one more thing. So I think that's enough for now. I'll send my other request to Dr. Janney in an email. But I thank you all for your support. I thank the board members for the work they're doing to respond to concerns of our communities, and I want to thank the administration for the work they're doing to lead us through this. So thank you.
Before I call on the next member on the dais, Mr. Rubio, I'm getting text messages that there's an echo, and it's prohibiting people from really understanding what we all are saying. So I don't know exactly what you can do about it or what's causing it, but I've been asked to ask you about fixing the echo, whatever that means. Okay, so Mr. Collier.
We're not having that issue on our feed, so we're not sure what they're hearing. Perhaps if they play with their volume, or if people make sure and mute themselves when they're not talking, that may help.
Yeah, that was one of the suggestions. That was maybe we should make the announcement that if any board member is not talking, we should be on mute. Okay.
Yeah, everybody that's on the call should be on mute if they're not talking.
Okay, all right. Let's see if that works. Thank you, Ms. Macedo. Mr. Collier.
Hello, can you hear me? Tarantino, you're mute.
Go ahead, Ethan, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I just wanted to follow with what Mrs. Hall said regarding Mental Health Month. Yes, May is Mental Health Month. So I would also like to see a resolution passed by the district board recognizing that. It is very important that we do recognize mental health in all its various aspects. This is important to students and staff alike. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. Mr. Pike.
Thank you, President Tarantino. First off, I'd like to thank the people in the food surfers, their personnel. They've done an outstanding job. They're feeding the majority of our students, it seems like, hundreds of thousands of lunches and breakfasts and things like that. I know they're pumping them out all the time. I know that the district's made aware, and I know people are hungry, and that's a very, very important thing, and I really appreciate all the work they do, and I know it's scary because there's a lot of people changing hands and changing things. So first off, thank you for those. And then the second personnel I think that we should thank are the campus assistants. They're turned their job into more of a security situation where they have to go out and make sure there's no vandalisms and kids on campus and things like that during the daytime hours. I know we've had some issues at nighttime, but at least we know those people are on staff, they're on duty, and they're considered essential. So I appreciate their hard work. I haven't seen any statistics on whether or not there's any continued crime and stuff, but I have a feeling that just their presence and their personalities will hopefully deter any vandalism or graffiti or things like that. So thank you very much, and of course thanks to all the staff for all their hard work, and we appreciate it. That's all I have, Mr. Tarantino.
Thank you, Mr. Pike. Mr. Segura, Vice President.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tarantino, President Tarantino. I also like to echo thanks to all the food service workers and all the district staff who's been working tirelessly in feeding the community, our students, and the families. That's very important, and it's a lot of work, and I really appreciate all that's gone into that coordination to actually distributing the food. And I also would like to echo Paula Hall's comments around adult ed and alt ed and support of that going forward, and look forward to working with her on that and the whole board. We're going to have, I'm a CSBA delegate, as is Mr. Trustee Solis. Him and I have a Zoom meeting with the San Diego at CSBA next Monday, and we're going to have, if I recall right, they're going to have the director of political director from the CSBA there. So we're going to have be able to ask some questions. He's going to give a presentation, and then following that, on the 16th of May, there's going to be a special CSBA delegate meeting. And one of the issues is they're going to discuss COVID and how how we're addressing that, and we can all talk through that and what we've learned and what we can do better and what we can do to help more, as well as the there's going to be the California First initiative. So that's going to be a new ballot measure that has been submitted to the state, to the Secretary of State, and we hope that'll be reviewed by the Secretary of State and put on the ballot after they count all the signatures. And at some point, I'd like to bring that forward, bring that a resolution about that to the board so that we can vote on it, so that I know where we're at with it, so we can recommend and vote on that, give us support or whatever we plan on doing at that CSBA meeting, Zoom virtual meeting on May 16th. I think we'll do the rest of my, I have some comments around the district learning, but I'll ask those questions during that part of the agenda. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segura. Mr. Solis.
thank you, President Tarantino, and thank you, Mr. Segura, for filling us in on the CSBA. Yes, I'll be joining you there too. And also, the honoring our own has been postponed tentatively here till October because of everything that's going on. And with that, I also wanted to thank the district and all the staff for all the work that they've done to feed our kids, get our kids their devices, all the work that that they've been doing. Is it perfect? No, but I know everybody's done the best they can, especially just this crazy time. It's insane. But I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that has been done by all the staff, everybody, every little part that you've taken, that you've done to help ensure that our kids get fed and get the education that they need. I also wanted to send a shout out to all our leadership from the South Bay, from Mayor.
Mr. Solis, we lost your voice after just
I think I got
leaders of the South Bay.
He froze.
Can't hear him.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you just
now
froze
we-
for a minute.
Now we can. Can you repeat your last sentence? Because we didn't hear that.
Hello?
We can hear you.
I can't.
If you can hear me, just move on and we'll be good.
Okay.
I
I can hear
think he's
you.
having trouble hearing us, so if you want to, he said move on. He might be
Okay.
having connectivity issues.
Okay. And I think I'd like to also echo my thanks to all of the district, the distance learning team, food services or nutrition services, both to Ms. Facedo and Mr. Rubio for their investigative skills to make MS Teams compliant and compatible with our live streaming, so like that people at home can see us when we talk. I think that took a lot of work, and again, I think in this time of adversity, in terms of what we're all going through, being sequestered at home and stuff like that, I think the one thing that it does show is that the willingness of people to work together, and the fact that I think there's a lot more compassion in terms of not only how we deal with each other, but also with our neighbors and stuff. And I think that's, if I had to think of a positive outcome, I'd like to point to that. So again, thank you for everything that you do, everyone. I'd like to thank our labor partners for their participation in terms of coming up with our plan. We can't do it alone. We need you. And so I appreciate your willingness to work with us and work together in terms of providing a product that is that's good for students and parents, and as we enter this new phase of quote unquote homeschooling. So that's all I have. Mr. Solis, do you want to go back and try to finish your last sentence, or we lost contact with you when you said the community leaders? I think he's frozen. So
Yeah, no, I think his
He's
voice thing
resetting
popped.
his, I think we lost connectivity with him. He's resetting, so he'll be back.
okay. Well, we'll go ahead and move on. So the next item on the agenda would be F7. It was pulled by Mrs. Hall, and that is to approve or ratify the MOU between Sweetwater Union High School District and the California School Employees Association, CSEA, and its Chapter 258 the exclusive representative of the Operations Support Services Unit. Chapter 471, the exclusive representative of the Office Technical and Business Service Unit. And Chapter 731, the exclusive representative of the Paraprofessional Unit in regard to the COVID-19 pandemic. Mrs.
Yes.
Hall.
Thank you very much. First of all, my first comment would be to recognize and thank our classified employees, each and every one of them, for the work they're doing during this sheltering in, because I know a lot of them continue to do their work remotely. And I'm thankful for that because it's keeping us moving forward. Their support and work is very important to the health and well-being of our students and our district staff. And many times it goes unrecognized, but in this time it is very recognizable, but I really wanted to thank them. I also wanted to ask about the requirement of the COVID absence request related to COVID, either how we're requiring them to submit their slips with the doctor's information, all that. Can you kind of go into that and explain how you're accommodating it, why we're doing it, and how you're accommodating those staff that maybe don't have remote devices or connectivity, and how they will be accommodated in providing the information to the district to cover their absence in any COVID-related activity. Thank you.
Regarding the
Okay, so who's, Dr. Janney is, well, it says Dr. Salkel, or Ms. Carbuccia. So who would like to take?
It has to do with, yeah.
I can handle that one. This is Jenny Carbuccia.
Should be Tom Glover. No?
No, let's let Jenny talk.
So this is a situation where on the form that you're speaking to, which is attachment to CSEA and additionally SCGA's MOU, what we have asked folks to do in lieu of submitting a doctor's note, which is consistent right now with the CSEA agreement when you're absent more than 5 days, is to submit a form that indicates which of the COVID absences they would qualify for. In submitting that form, which is on our benefits website, they have the ability to check that box. What Dr. Glover has told us is that most of those are being submitted via a picture. So someone sends it via an email, via picture where they've signed it that way. They indicate basically their doctor, or if they're taking, for example, child care leave, which school district or which child care provider is not able to provide the leave. The real reason for this form, unlike a doctor's note, which we have a right to ask for generally prior to right now the current order where we're not asking for doctor's notes, is because under the Department of Labor, U.S. Department of Labor's guidelines, we are required to be able to have someone qualify for one of the FFCRA leaves, either the medical leave or the paid family medical leave for childcare purposes. For us to recover that reimbursement, we have to provide certain information, and that form is created based on the Department of Labor's requirements. And so that is the reason for the form. Paula, we totally recognize that there are going to be difficulties right now. A person may have trouble submitting a form or submitting their doctor's information at this point, which is why the bottom of the form says, in the future, should Department of Labor ask or we need other help, they'll help us finish the form, because they may not have all of that information right now. And right now we just need to be able to capture it and start to categorize it so that we can ensure that everyone's paid, but also that the federal government reimburses us.
Ms. Hall, if I could piggyback on that, this is Tom Glover. The main district office line is being monitored by Human Resources. So if any of one of our employees needs some support in how to take care of that form or how to get it to us, they're welcome to call the main district office line, and we're monitoring those numbers. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that from both of you. Dr. Glover, I appreciate that your staff is monitoring those numbers and providing that assistance. And if any employee, be it a classified or certificated, needs help, they can contact that number and you will help them achieve what you need. So thank you very much.
Are there any other questions or discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve, ratify the memorandum of understanding between the Sweetwater Union High School District and the various CSEA chapters.
I'll make a motion.
Second, Solis.
Moved by Pike, seconded by Solis. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we are going to move on to F10, which was pulled by the public.
Yes, I have one member of the public who submitted comments, Dallas A. Keetalin. She says, good evening. On behalf of the SEA bargaining team, I would like to present our initial proposal for the 2020-21 contract. While SEA and Sweetwater have not reached a successor agreement for the 1920 negotiations, SEA feels that there are no structural changes to negotiate that could be put into place for the 1920 school year. The district's team has refused to ratify tentatively agreed upon proposed changes that would allow us to move forward with 1920. In light of the status of the 1920 negotiations, SEA has limited the number of articles to reopen for 2021, which include Article 12, duty hours, Article 15, extra service assignments, and the creation of a new article that addresses the needs of non-classroom certificated personnel. SEA agrees with Sweetwater to keep the following articles open: Article 5, Alternative Education, and Article 37, Special Education. The SEA bargaining team is ready to negotiate. No further comments.
Okay. I think all we do is we just receive it. There's no action. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
You would need to take a vote to receive it. Yes.
Okay.
Hold off the
So I
consent.
will entertain a motion to receive the Sunshine Successor proposal from the Sweetwater Education Association, CTA, NEA, the exclusive bargaining representative of the teacher bargaining unit to the Sweetwater Union High School District.
Move to receive, Solis.
Second.
Moved by
Segura.
Solis and seconded by Segura. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Collier,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Pike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, next item on the agenda is item F11, which is to approve the 3-year renewal agreement with Flycast Partners for the purchase of BMC Helix Remedy Force Services licenses. Mr. Segura, you pulled that item.
Yes, so my question is, thanks for bringing it up because my Wi-Fi is brutal. My question was around, is this a renewal or is this a brand new contract?
Good evening, President Tarantino, Superintendent.
Mr. De La Casada,
Good
we
evening.
see you.
You hear
We
me?
hear you. I said, we see you and we hear you. How cool is that?
Excellent. Good evening. Mr. Segura, this is a renewal. This is the 3-year renewal for our ticketing system.
So it's the same system we've had then previous 3 years?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, that was the only question I had. I just wanted to make sure if we didn't have to go up for an RFP, but if it's just a renewal, I'm good with that. And if Mr. De La Casada is good with it, I'm good.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on item F11? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 3-year renewal agreement with Flycast Partners for the purchase of the BMC Helix Remedy Force Service licenses.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, moved by Hall, seconded by Pike. Madam Clerk, will you please call for the vote?
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Ike,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next item is item F13, to approve a 3-year payment on the Sweetwater Union High School District's agreement with Hanover Research, pulled by both Mrs. Hall and Mr. Segura. Mrs. Hall, would you like to go first?
I don't agree with continuing to, it states here that it was unlimited access by central office employees. And I don't agree with continuing some of these different licenses or renewing contracts if we don't have to. And I don't think this is a have to, so that's that's all the statement I was going to make. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Segura.
Thank you, President Tarantino. Yeah, I was kind of concerned about that, or I am concerned about spending more money on this, but what I understand in reading through this, again, is that this is the last year of that. Is that correct? We're not committed to anything past that. And does it say exactly everything they do besides survey help? Maybe a little explanation around that. Those two questions would be helpful. It would be helpful if they're answered for me.
Good evening, trustees. President Tarantino.
Mr. Rubio.
Yes, here I am, and I am in the boardroom missing you all here. I want to just kind of talk about that a little bit. Yes, definitely. This is the last year of a contract. It is from January to January, so that is budgeted for the current year, for the 1920 year, and this is the third of a 3-year agreement that we entered into. The work with Hanover really kind of depends on what we want them to do. So we really drive that. They have done for us over the years a series of surveys. They've done our culture and climate survey that we had out to the community for several years. This year, one of the big projects we were actually working on was an LCAP, kind of to guide our LCAP discussions. And so once it was actually finished just before we went into this time period, so that's why we haven't really seen it, because it was something that was a deliverable that was for when we went out into the public to do those kind of meetings. But in the past, they've worked with a little bit of different aspects of across the organization. They've worked with adult education, they've worked with culture and climate, they've worked with student services, they've worked with our teaching and learning department on some parent engagement and parent involvement work. But again, yes, this is the third year, and it is budgeted in the 1920 year.
Can I just make a comment really quick?
Sure.
So budgeted doesn't mean you have to spend it. And we're cutting things that are directly connected to school sites while we're keeping something that is in the summary says for central office employees. So I think that is sending an incorrect message. We don't have to have it for this year. We don't have to spend another year. We can, not do it, not extend it. That there is clauses in all our agreements, I believe, that allow us to end contracts before their term if that's necessary. And that's all I'm going to say. That's my take on this.
Mr. Rubio, I have a question. Is this the Healthy Kids? Is this the same thing as the Healthy Kids survey? Or is this the sponsor of the Healthy Kids survey? Or is that something entirely different?
No, that's a different organization that handles that.
Okay. So So based on what you said, my understanding is that we already have a plan for them of what they're supposed to do for us for this year. Is that correct?
Yes, and so as I discussed, the last thing we were working on was LCAP. We are actually have met with them a couple of times during this month that we've been out and talking about actually some things going forward. So they're actually working with us on looking on. Actually, one of the issues is budgeting and kind of how other districts are working around some of that. They have a lot of clients in California, and so we have a specialized researcher and representative who works with us on this. But yes, this is we understand there are things, but this is a 3-year agreement that we entered into. So understand that would be something we'd have to look into.
Could you also explain what the unlimited access by central office employees to their online education library?
Sure.
What exactly are some things that are within that catalog?
Sure. So Hanover is a national organization that works with districts across the U.S. Obviously national, and so they are kind of on the forefront of a lot of research around all different topics. One of the things we participate in is a superintendent's forum that Dr. Janney is a part of, and myself has been a part of, where we've talked about things like culture and climate, school safety, a variety of different topics. And so what they do is they share their research. On a weekly basis, we get emails from them with a number of publications that they've put out. Usually they are case studies and other things that we do around topics that are relevant to us. And then we share that with our cabinet members, but then they share it with whomever they think it's relevant to share it with.
Okay, so it's not just kept within the central office. It is dispersed throughout the organization. The information as needed and as pertinent. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Are there any other comments or discussion? Mr. Pike, Mr. Solis?
Yes, President Tarantino, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Nice
to have you back.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I had an internet issue. I had to reset it. But with regards to this, with Hanover, is it possible to use them for the things that are happening now with regards to COVID and whatnot? Is there any way we can use them to help us out in any way?
Yes, definitely, Mr. Solis. That is actually one of the topics that we have. We're trying to schedule a call right now, and we did talk to them a couple of weeks ago because they are as shifting with every state is going through different things, and in California they're evaluating kind of what these changes have meant for districts, and so they're gathering best practices on all of that, and that's something that we'll actually be taking advantage of when that information is ready. But we can specifically tailor it to our district and some of the issues that we are facing again, and that will be something we're having in our call that's upcoming.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Mr. Pike, any other insight or questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve the 3-year payment on the Sweetwater Union High School District's agreement with Hanover Research.
So moved.
I'll second. So it's been moved by Solis, seconded by Tarantino. Madam Clerk, will you call for the vote?
Bollier?
Yes.
Hall?
I will not vote for this. We have support from the San Diego County Office of Ed and CDE on all of this, on budget building. You can reach out to other districts. Best practices, there's a number of other venues to use that, so I will vote no. Thank you.
Solis?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Segura?
No.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 3 yes, 2 no.
Okay, next item on the agenda is, excuse me, G2, which is a staff report on distance learning.
Mr. Tarantino?
Yes, did I miss something?
No, but just wondering, it's about 8 o'clock. I'm wondering, this is going to be a presentation. I don't know if people need a break or you want to keep going. It's up to you.
Well, we started about 6:30. So we've been going for an hour and a half. How long is the presentation? Because we usually take a break after 2 hours.
My guess is
presentation-
that between the presentation and discussion that's going to happen as a result of the presentation, it's going to take more than 30 minutes.
Okay, then let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break.
And then we can get set up that way with the.
And while we're on the break, the live stream will still be on. So if you all could mute yourselves and turn your cameras off, that way nothing will be shown on YouTube that you may or may not want shown on YouTube.
Thank you for the heads up. Okay, we'll be back in 10 minutes.